Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today is day 24 and we are doing this awesome honeycomb brioche stitch. It's very thick and squishy. I hope you guys enjoy this one. It is all knit stitches, so it just depends on where we actually put our needle to be able to do this stitch. So it is still beginner friendly or on the easy side. We're just going to insert our needle in a different place to create this awesome honeycomb stitch, and then we even knit the way back. And now this pattern looks a little bit more like, say, a stockinette where the back all looks like pearls, but that just happens when we do this style of stitching. All right, so let's jump in. All right, so to get started with our brioche honeycomb stitch, this pattern is really fun. It does include a little bit more advanced stitching, so if you're a beginner, maybe this one might not quite be the one for you, but do a couple of projects and then maybe give it a try because it'll be a lot of fun. We are casting on using our long tail cast on, multiples of 2 stitches for this pattern, and then we're going to start with 1 row of straight knit stitches for our setup row. So there is a 4-row repeat, but really it's just 2 rows. We're just alternating where we start. Okay, so it's 2 stitches, 2 rows, and then we're going to alternate them back and forth. So we have 14 stitches on our needles. Now, when I was doing this one the first time, because sometimes I learn as we do this, when I was doing this one for the first time, I realized that the stitch, of course, is very squishy and it's also expansive. So when I cast it on, I think I cast it on about 24 stitches the first time, and it went from like this size to like double that size by the time I was actually working the stitches. So keep that in mind. Do yourself a gauge swatch. I know lots of people hate doing gauge swatches. I actually swear by them now. I hated doing them in the beginning, but I found out that it's really hard to make something fit if you don't have a clue how many stitches you need to put on to make it. And I just found that if I was doing a complicated stitch pattern, that I was wasting so much time trying to figure out how many stitches I needed and like doing 10 rows and then ripping it back and doing 10 rows and just starting again because I just didn't really like how it was going. So for this one, we are going to make a gauge swatch and then decide how many stitches you need to go ahead and make this one. This one would be a really, really, really cute hat. I don't know how we would do the decreases, but the body of a hat would be super, super cute in this one. So I might have to play with it a little bit and maybe get some decreases working to keep the pattern working. But anyways, it would be a really cute, like, band, body section of a hat, just like a little band in the middle, and then go back to, say, regular knitting once you get a little bit past it, but it's a lot of fun. So let's go ahead and get started with this pattern. So like I said, we do our cast on row, multiples of 2 stitches, and then we're going to knit a whole row. And then at the end of the row, we're going to turn around and we're going to go back. We're going to start our little bit different stitches. So we're going to slip our first stitch, and then we're going to work on our pattern starting at the second stitch. Okay, so knit the first stitch, and then we're going to knit 1 below. What that means is we're going to actually come down, and you can kind of see the V happening here. At least I hope you can see on the video. All right, so we've got a little V happening here. So we're actually going to insert our needle into that little hole. So originally we would go this way, but this time we're going to actually come down below the purl bump here and insert our needle there. And then we're going to knit. Now what this actually does is when we come back through is we actually have 2 loops that are happening on the back, but they're held by this stitch that we just did. Okay, so we're going to need both of these loops next time, so don't worry about those yet. And so knit stitch the next one, and then we're going to come down, and you can see the hole here, and we're going to insert our needle there and do our knit stitch. So knit 1 below, and repeat across the row. Okay, so this is row 2. So this one is definitely not going to look like anything after just 1 row. Okay, it just looks like a whole bunch of extra loops on each of our stitches, or on half of our stitches. Okay, so now what we want to look for is we want to look for our knit stitches that we did, which are single purl bumps here on the back side, and then we want the stitches with 2 bumps, which we can see here if we pull these apart a little bit. We've got 2 bumps. We've got our loose one, and then we've got the little bit tighter one here. So we're going to come in through the looser one here and then insert into the stitch itself, and this is going to be considered a knit 2 together in this case. So then we loop our stitch off, and then we knit 1 because it just has 1 loop here, and we will just knit it. And then the next one, which has 2 loops, which we can kind of see here. Sometimes they get a little bit stuck together, that's okay. So grab the loose one, insert through the one on your needle, wrap your yarn around like a knit stitch, and come back through both to finish off the stitch. Then knit 1. All right, and then we can see this one here has 2 strands as our purl bump. we're gonna pick up the loose one on the top, insert, wrap around, and come back through both. Keep repeating that across the row. And then when we go back to the right side row, the first row that we just did, we're gonna switch our stitches. So we started with a knit stitch on the first row. Now on the second row, we're gonna start with our knit one below. And then same thing with the way back for our fourth row here, like we just did. We are going to alternate. So you're gonna watch for your 2 purl bumps, and you're gonna pick up your stitches the way that we are doing here on the stitches with the 2 purl bumps, and knit 2 together over those. So here we are with our wrong side. This is our wrong side, okay? We'll see it a little bit better once we get a few more rows done, but so far, you know, it doesn't really look like a whole lot. And this is a straight up purl stitch. So now we want to knit one below here. So first stitch is a knit one below for our pattern. And now we're gonna just do a regular knit stitch for the one with the 2 purl bumps on this row. So when we kind of see this pull apart, you've got just one loop here, and then we've got a nice hole here below it. That's the one that you want to do as your knit below. Okay, so just watch your stitches, work back and forth, and work this pattern. This is the front. Here's our back. Right, not looking like a whole lot yet, but you can kind of see we've got a little bit of depression happening here in between our stitches. All right, so the way back, we're gonna do the same as we did for the second row on our reverse pass, except we're going to start with our opposite stitch. So this one, we can see, has only one loop here, okay? So we are going to knit. Now this one has 2 stitch, or our one strand of our loop, so we just knit that one. And then this one, we pick up the looser one, which is on top, and knit 2 together with it. So that's our 4 rows as far as our repeat goes. Now I'm gonna do a few more, and then I'll show you exactly for what this looks like. So I'm gonna do this one on camera this time, try something a little bit new, and we'll just do a little bit of a silent section, and you guys can skip ahead if you really just wanna see what it looks like. But we're gonna just sit and knit together for a minute. You guys can go ahead and get started, and we will be back to knit together in a moment. All right, so here we have finished off a few more rows of our honeycomb. I hope you guys can see the texture in this one. It's so thick and squishy. It's so much fun. Anyways, I hope this is one of your favorites. Go ahead and hit that like button if it is, and click this video on the screen here, and it will take you to the next one in the series. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. We'll see you then.